New York City, the Big Apple, the capital of the world, the first world city. People from all over the world come here to realize their dreams. There's no other city on the planet like it. It is immortalized in film, music, art, and its buildings, streetscapes, and bridges are even familiar to those who have never visited. There are hundreds of elements that have contributed to this greatness, but an often overlooked aspect is the city's tremendous infrastructure. Those elements that allow millions of people to live their daily lives. From turning on the faucet in the morning to driving on a smooth and safe road. These are things that most New Yorkers take for granted. But just like a car, this infrastructure needs tender loving care and maintenance in order to keep the city running. And that's where the New York City Department of Design and Construction, or DDC, comes in. Ever since the first water main and sewer pipes were placed in the ground, there has been the need to maintain and fix them. Over the decades, various agencies have been installing and maintaining the city's infrastructure. In an effort to streamline the process and coordinate the work, the city took the construction arms of several agencies and placed them under one roof so that the water main people could talk to the roadway people so that reconstruction could be coordinated. And so, in 1996, the city charter created the Department of Design and Construction. DDC has two distinct groups, structures and infrastructure. The structures group builds or reconstructs the city's buildings, such as police precincts and libraries. And the infrastructure group is charged with reconstruction of the city's water mains, sewers, and roadways. We understand the disruption that this reconstruction can have on your daily routine, and we at DDC have developed this video to address some commonly asked questions and concerns. Before DDC begins any infrastructure project, no matter how big or small, the project or work to be done must be identified or requested by either the Department of Transportation or Department of Environmental Protection, or both. Why these agencies? Major function of the DOT is to maintain the city's streets, sidewalks, traffic signals, and street lighting. DEP is charged with delivering clean drinking water to New York City and providing for the safe and sanitary collection of wastewater and sewage. For more info on what DOT and DEP do, please visit nyc.gov. Before construction can begin, there's a great deal of coordinated planning that must be done. Let's take a look at the steps DDC takes before a capital construction project begins. The first step is the design phase. Once the design is complete, the project is then put out to bid for contractors. Bids are awarded to the lowest responsible contractor. Then, a work schedule is developed where we lay out which activities will be performed and the order. Once that is completed, we can move on to the next phase. Water mains and sewers are not the only facilities that run under the street and sidewalks. Private utilities are also there and are oftentimes directly over or adjacent to the water main or sewer. In these instances, these facilities must be moved or relocated so that DDC can have clear and direct access. The utility companies first come out to the street and mark out the locations of their facilities. These are the colored lines you see on the roadway, with each color representing a different utility. The utility companies have test pits dug either in-house or by a private contractor to locate their own utility's exact location before the project goes to construction. This is usually done during the design phase to see whether or not they need to relocate their facilities before construction begins. The relocation of utilities is oftentimes a source of confusion for most people, as they see the utility companies come in, relocate their lines, and then a few months later, DDC comes in and excavates the same area, leading people to think that the work is not coordinated. Now we are finally ready to begin our work under the ground. Let's look at sewer main work. The sewer system is generally comprised of sanitary sewers, which carry sewage, and storm sewers, which capture runoff water from city streets. There are also combined sewers, which carry both. Since the sewage or water flows by gravity, the pipes must be angled accordingly. Before the pipes can be replaced, sheeting or bracing must be installed within the excavated trench to keep it from collapsing on itself. During the installation of sheeting, utility services like gas and water may have to be temporarily interrupted while the utility pipes are moved around the sheeting material. Once the trench is excavated and sheeting is installed, the sewer pipe is replaced. At this time, new house connections are installed. Once the pipes are replaced, the trench is backfilled and work moves on. Once the sewer work is completed, we turn to the water mains. But before we get to the actual work, let's take a look at how the millions of New Yorkers get their water.
The city water comes from the reservoir upstate New York. It collects through various dam structures, and then it goes into a gigantic tunnel that conveys the water from upstate down to New York City. When it gets down to New York City, it gets distributed through smaller pipes. As part of the project, we replace these pipes because if it bursts, it's a disaster for everybody. In order to replace the pipe, you have to shut the main off. We replace the pipe, and then you turn the water back on. We do not shut people off for more than a day. We give notice in advance. The next day or so, the water is going to be shut down. If you have special need, we try to arrange some way to make sure you're okay with the shutdown. At the end of the workday, we reconnect that pipe back in. We flush it with chlorine and so forth to clean the pipe to make sure the settlement is cleaned up.
Now let's look at how we actually replace an aging section pipe and what that means to you. Simply put, a distribution main cannot be replaced without the water being turned off. Having your water service interrupted is a significant imposition, and DDC understands this and tries to accommodate certain users like medical facilities or residents who are on dialysis machines. But in 99% of the cases, a shutdown must be made before we remove the old and install the new. Water service is typically shut off for 1 day while the connection to your building is installed. The NYC DDC provides residents advance notice of the shutoff. The new water mains will last up to 50 years. New catch basins are installed and connected to the sewers. Now the below-surface work has been completed. The water mains, sewers, and catch basin have been installed. Now it's time to move above the ground. Curbs are the first item to be installed as they set the grade for the sidewalk. Curbs are generally concrete, but can be steel-faced or granite depending on the location and neighborhood. Once the curbs have been installed, the contractor will excavate the old sidewalks and install the new ones. In some instances, the contractor will install half the sidewalk at a time so as to maintain building access. Or they may place bridges over the new concrete while it cures and sets in place. One of the most frequently asked questions from property owners is, do I have to pay for the new sidewalk? Only if there is an existing defect, such as a crack. Before any capital construction project begins, the Department of Transportation surveys the sidewalks within a project and sends the homeowner a sidewalk violation with a sketch of the sidewalk showing the areas or flags that contain defects. For more information on sidewalks, please visit the DOT at www.nyc.gov/DOT. During the course of a capital investment project, the DDC understands that some topics are confusing for the public. Two such areas of confusion are encroachment and property acquisitions. Let's take a look at these two topics. There's a lot of misinformation on the topic of encroachment. Simply put, an encroachment is any structure, such as a fence or a mailbox, for example, that extends out beyond the boundary of private property onto city property. In upgrading the city's infrastructure, encroachments may need to be moved back onto the private property, or completely removed for a variety of reasons, such as the construction of new sidewalks or widening the roadway. DDC works with the homeowner to make the transition as smooth as possible. and homeowners have the opportunity to remove any private structures before construction starts. Every so often, a design calls for widening the roadway or adding new or wider sidewalks. If no city-owned land is available, the city will need to acquire the land from the adjacent property owner for public use. This process of private property appropriation is typically done pursuant to the New York State Eminent Domain Procedure Law, and the homeowner typically receives fair market value for the property. In some cases, the city may instead obtain an easement through negotiation with the property owner. This is more typical when a DEP structure is being installed underground, but the city does not need to use the above-ground space for public access. The final stage of the capital construction project is typically the roadway. The roadway consists of a concrete base which is covered with a coarse layer of asphalt, called the binder, and then a final, less coarse layer of asphalt. In some instances, the city just replaces the asphalt layers. These are called milling paving projects and are performed throughout the city on a cyclical basis in order to maintain a smooth riding surface on city streets. A milling paving project is a very simple process that involves removing the worn asphalt surface of the roadway and placing 2 new layers of asphalt, the paving part. This work is typically completed in a few weeks. The paving operation is usually done in 1 day. The final stages of a project can also include landscaping, adding streetlights and traffic lights. In an effort to enhance the cityscape, DDC, in partnership with the Department of Parks, will plant trees and shrubs and grass in certain locations. Streetlights are installed once the electrical conduits from the street are completed. The streetlights may be the normal ones that existed before. But in certain cases, such as historic or business improvement districts, specially designed or historic-style streetlights are installed. In 1986, Mayor Koch assigned into local law that 1% of the budget of a capital project will go toward integrating public art into that project. DDC is well aware of the impact its work and projects have on the community and is committed to ensuring that you, the community, know what is happening and when it will be happening. For high-impact projects, DDC will typically assign a Community Construction Liaison, or CCL. The CCL is a dedicated on-site person whose primary job is to provide advance notification of work activities and related impacts to the community. With this information, people can plan their lives and daily routines with a minimum of disruption. The CCL is the first point of contact for the community. Their job is to provide advance notification to the community and identify and help resolve project-related issues. Basically, they are DDC's on-site problem solvers and help mitigate the impacts of construction.